Welcome back to Brazil Crypto Report. Today I'm joined by João Kury, co-founder of Modular Crypto. We discuss how Modular Crypto has become one of the leading Portuguese language sources of education about crypto and Web3 technology, and we dive into the ongoing modular versus monolithic blockchain rivalry. All right, so I'm here with João Kury, who is the co-founder of Modular Crypto and one of the original contributors to Bankless Brasil. João, it's great to have you on the show.
Hey, Aaron. Hey, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, man.
Awesome. So we had the chance to hang out at ETH Denver last month, and I know you were there representing the Brazilian community. You also had a chance to hang out at ETH Latam in Honduras. We'd love to chat a bit about that a little later. But let's just dive into kind of your background and talk a bit about Modular Crypto and how you got into like crypto in the first place. What was your on-ramp?
Yeah, so like this brings back memories, not gonna lie. Actually, my first introduction to Bitcoin was like at 2016, I think, where a friend that was living abroad told me that he needed to send some money to Brazil and didn't know how because he needed to help his mom, and he ended up doing everything with Bitcoin. And for me, that was like something really magical. I was already interested in finance, so I was like basically on TradFi. Searching for stocks to buy and etc. But I didn't got like really into Bitcoin until 2019, where I really understand what's happening in Bitcoin, not only on Bitcoin but Ethereum, etc. So since 2019, I'm a big believer of education, especially here in Brazil. I think we lack a little bit regarding to other countries because most of the content we have in crypto are in English or Spanish. So since 2019, I've been trying to educate people. I created a YouTube channel in 2021. And ever since, like just getting more involved and falling down the rabbit hole of Web3, man.
I know you were one of the original like kind of founders or contributors to Bankless Brasil, also, which was kind of one of those projects that popped up in 2021 in the bull market there. Maybe talk a bit about that, and then like how you ended up on your current project, Modular Crypto.
Yes, of course. So Bankless Brasil was one of the spin-offs of Bankless DAO that were created in 2021, as you said, was actually one of the first DAOs that we had here in Brazil. So we were trying to explore things. It is interesting because I got to know Bankless Brasil before Bankless Brasil was a DAO, because the first idea was to create something just for the newsletter, but then the guys that founded basically decided that the newsletter wasn't enough. They needed more. They needed more content. As we said, like we need a lot of education here, and we have a lot of good content created abroad. So we wanted to bring this to Portuguese. And then the DAO were created. We didn't know a lot of things that we needed to do and needed to build. We are exploring things, trying new things. Like DAOs, in the end of the day, are an experiment. And yeah, so the project got bigger. We end up like being recognized as one of the biggest projects in 2021, I would say, because we were like so involved. We were trying to understand more how the Brazilian community and everyone could join us. So we were like very welcoming to new people, because as I said, we are always trying to understand more. So how can we help the community here in Brazil? Like I got very focused on educating people. So I was one of the hosts of the podcast. We even got the chance to interview like David Hoffman, and Ryan Sin Adams was actually one of the first interviews they did, being interviewed by other bankless nations around the world. So it is a very special interview to me. And as we are evolving in this place, we realized that we need a more professional approach. So we end up creating Modular Crypto. That's a media organization that creates content in Portuguese. We are right now creating content basically every single day. We have from live streams to daily podcasts to articles, newsletters, and other things. And we decided to go to this path because we helped to notice that the DAO ecosystem is great. I love DAOs and I love governance, but we lack a lot of things that we need on a traditional company, or we need to basically scale a business. So we decided to create Modular Crypto, and we've been since I think mid of 2023 developing it, creating a lot of content, creating a lot of events with the same goal, basically to create more awareness of crypto in Brazil, and also trying to show a little bit of what Brazil is building to people that lives abroad.
Yeah, and that's super cool. You got to interview the Bankless co-founders as well for your podcast. That's super cool. I remember I first stumbled. I think Bankless. I first came across them in like early 2020 when I was working at CoinDesk, and I was putting together an event all about like Ethereum and DeFi. This was kind of during the DeFi summer, and I was trying to just like figure out like what the heck is all this stuff. And the Bankless platform was just like the only place I could find like kind of clear English like educate. At that time, it was like there was like nothing else out there that you could go and just be like a non-technical person and just read and understand what was going on. So it was like super helpful. So it's super cool to see how they've grown over the years. And with Modular Crypto, yeah, like it's super cool what you guys have been doing. I've been following your content, and you guys have got like a nice niche here, doing a lot of really good, like good educational materials and across a variety of mediums. You've been going to different events locally and internationally. Maybe talk a bit about just the team that you guys have assembled, and really maybe some of what you're kind of focused on at the moment.
Basically, everyone in our team today, at least one, like at some time, passed through Bankless Brazil. It was basically like, even though we are not involved with Bankless anymore, I think we all consider it like somewhat of like our first experience in Web3, in the true Web3, I would say. Like before that, I understood what Bitcoin, what crypto was, but I was not like aware of this whole Web3 ecosystem that we now have, that we now are exploring and helping to evolve. So it was like somewhat of the first experience in Web3, I would say, for a big part of our team. And right now, like we are like focused on developing one of the quality content about Web3. We know that Brazil have a lot of people creating content in Portuguese, but sometimes we lack a little bit of the technology part, I would say. Like we are focus on like what you should buy or what you should do, and not like how can like blockchain technology help us create another version of reality with more transparency and etc. So we have like a daily podcast where we cover the crypto news that happen. So like crypto has a lot of stuff, especially in Brazil. Like we do not have a lot of big journals covering what's happening. We try to do a little bit of that daily on Twitter. We have like live streams where we cover Ethereum ecosystem and DeFi. And like something that I'm very, very excited right now are the events that we are organizing. We are basically trying to do a modular tour or a modular house around Brazil. Brazil is a big place. Like most of the events we have are still focused on the southeast part, and we want to like get more people to understand, and also welcome more people. We are on an interesting phase of the market, I would say, where more people are joining it, more people are getting awareness of crypto, but we need to bring these people together, because otherwise they will end up like listening to crypto on, I don't know, like on a traditional newspaper, seeing some bad things, and we don't want that to happen. So we'll be traveling around Brazil in these next few months. We have already 4 events confirmed to do in the first semester of 2024, and we really do hope to do more of that in the second semester, because I don't know, I am a man that loves IRL crypto events. The first Ethereum Rio in 2022 was the first event I could be, and it was magical to me, like getting to know the folks that I was working at Bankless Brazil, for example, for more than a year. That the pandemic didn't allow us to get together, so it was a magical place, and I really want to help more people to feel the same thing that I felt in this event.
Yeah, and going back to the content piece, I think there's you mentioned an interesting kind of point where like your niche is really trying to be a bit more on like the educational, maybe a little more technical side, whereas a lot of the content that we have here is in Brazil is maybe more kind of influencer-y type, like, hey, like buy this, it's like pseudo financial advice kind of stuff, right? And look, like there's a place for that. Like I watch some of that stuff too. I'm trying to find which meme coin I should meme like token I should be buying or whatever. But there's it's kind of like an easy like shortcut to getting clicks, right? Is like you just start talking about prices and what coins to buy, and then bam, you've got like 100,000 subscribers. It's like so with Brazil Crypto Report, I kind of made like the conscious decision, like I'm not going to talk about that stuff, or at least I'm not going to focus on that stuff. I'm going to kind of take like the road less traveled, I guess, and just really try to provide more kind of like high value educational stuff that it's like of higher value to a smaller audience, I suppose. And it seems like you're kind of taking that same approach where like we really want to focus on creating quality content that, maybe it's not for everybody, but for people that they really want to kind of take that next level of understanding of Web3, like this is, and maybe their English, English isn't like quite their, this stuff is complicated in whatever language, especially if it's not your native language, right? But you guys dive into some complicated stuff. I mean, I saw you did something on like eigenlayer, like restaking. I mean, these are like complicated subjects, right? That you've got to kind of, it's hard enough to explain this stuff in English, but you guys are tackling some pretty like hard topics and really trying to break some of these things down. So I guess not really a question, but would love your reaction to that.
Yes, no, that's 100% true. Like I think I think at Modular we don't want to people just entering this crypto ecosystem like just to buy some meme coins or just to farm some airdrops. Of course, we're gonna have something talking about that, because in the end of the day, the people want that. And as I said earlier, I do prefer that people understand that and at the same time try to get more involved with the ecosystem than to learn from these influencers that most of the time say things without knowing how and why to do that. So we are also trying to do some things about airdrops. For example, we did last year a week of airdrops, I would say, like live stream from Monday to Friday, where we created a public wallet and delve in the farms that we were doing. But yeah, like the main focus of Modular is to create like this next level content, because we love technology, especially Gelfi and I, that were like that are the co-hosts of the podcast. We love technology. We know that this isn't like just some speculation phase. Right now, we are seeing a lot of people entering the crypto market. Like it's bull time. The retails aren't in yet, but the people are finally starting to realize. And these people will, of course, come for the airdrops, come for the promises of free money, but they will not stick for that. Like we know that the markets are cyclic. One like they are up and they're down the next day, and we want to show people like the technology part, like how can they get more involved. And there is a lot of cool stuff happening right now. Like I would say like in 2021 and 2020, there isn't a lot of things happening all the time, but especially right now we are seeing like 4, 5, 6 narratives happening at the same time. And if we can explain a little bit more, like not just the modular thesis airdrops that's going to happen, but also how the modular thesis is helping to redefine the ecosystem right now, that we would be happy, because we are like giving the next step to people. And of course, like we will not be able to explain everything, as you said. Like the most of the materials are hard, even for us that are crypto natives, I would say. But if we could like explain to people a little bit more of how Eigenlayer works, of how the modular thesis work, we are already happy, because we plant the seed and we expect to the people to keep cultivating it, and maybe one day like understand how this thing understand this, so they can read it in English and other languages.
And then maybe speaking of just some of the hot themes of the moment or the hot narratives, I know you were at ETH Denver, you were at ETH Latam in Honduras. You got to, I guess going to ETH Denver is kind of, you're just immersed in like the zeitgeist, the crypto zeitgeist for like 4 or 5 days, right? And would love to kind of just get your thoughts on like what were your big takeaways narrative wise from that event, and then would also love to hear about ETH Latam as well, how that went. It was in Honduras, it was in Argentina last year, I believe, and now it was in Honduras this year, which is I guess I don't really know anything about the crypto scene there, so would be interested to get your take on that.
Yes, perfect. So like it was my second time going to ETH Denver. It was very, very cool. I think the event last year was a little bit better because we were on the bear market. So like there isn't a lot of noise that we saw this year. Like a lot of newer projects came to ETH Denver this year. But like last year was a special place to me. Like the first event abroad. So it was special. But this year was also very, very cool. As you said, like when you go to these events, you really get to understand what's happening right now in crypto and why, like, and where the culture is looking forward next. So I think interoperability is something that we I think it's something that we already know that's happening, but I didn't realize how big it is, how big the interoperability thesis was until I went to Denver. Like I got to understand better projects, for example, Zeta Chains that was just launched. I got to understand like why they're building it and how they are building this whole interoperability and chain abstraction thesis that they are building it. But yeah, so if Denver was really, really cool this year too, because I got to explore more the modular thesis. As I said, like I'm building modular crypto, I have to keep up with almost everything that's happening with the modular thesis, and I got to meet a lot of cool folks there, a lot of cool projects that last year got like this big shiny eyes from the markets. So, for example, Barachain also surprised me this year at ETH Denver. And yeah, like in general, it's so cool to meet new builders from all around the world and to see like, because ETH Denver is a huge event. Like we have like a huge venue, a lot of stuff, a lot of people, a lot of merch, a lot of people from all over the world. So it's cool to see all these builders together. And yeah, so ETH Latam, yeah, was in Honduras this year. Was a change from the last event that was in Argentina. I think like the community in Honduras is still growing, but is growing at a fast pace. We have like some cool places there. So, for example, Prospera, that's a free zone, a free economic zone. I don't know if that's the right term, but here's a place where they have their own rules applied, and they are crypto friendly. So you can buy everything there with crypto, and it's a cool concept. I don't know if I agree or not, but it's a cool concept to at least like visualize and see that there are people trying to build nations like with regard to blockchain. And like the artistic scene there is also very, very interesting. I met to a lot of artists that are trying to be onboarded in this NFT ecosystem, and the event was also very, very good. I have some cool friends in Latin America, and it's always a nice time to get together with them. I have like a little bit of bias here because I'm also from Latin America, from Brazil. So we have this feeling that we are like brothers and sisters. So that is also special. And it was also cool to see like the focus of the event, because they focused a lot on ZK technology, and it's something that I find very, very interesting. And even though we are not like on like the ZK ecosystem yet, I would say like we have like the biggest rollups nowadays are Optimism and Arbitrum that uses optimistic rollups. I love to see this future with ZK that we are building. I had the chance to give a talk about like introducing ZK to people that were at the event, and it's cool to explain to new folks how can ZK impact not only this blockchain ecosystem but also like this whole our whole lives. Like I am a fan of privacy data, and I think we are all tired of people sending us emails, sending us messages that we don't want, that we never subscribed ourselves to it. So it was a cool place to explain these concepts more. But yeah, like it's interesting to compare like how the realities and how the teams focused on ETH Denver and ETH Latam happened, because like the reality of crypto in Latin America is different from the reality of crypto in United States. Like and I would say like that the reality is better in Latin America, because in the United States we have all this problem with SEC, with Gary Gensler, with like a lot of uncertainty regarding to laws and things that we can use. And in Latin America we have a lot of builders trying to basically create real world problem solutions, and not like real earth assets, like real world problem. Like I cannot create an account in a bank. Like I cannot I don't know, like get like borrow or lend money. I cannot, I don't know, man. Like I cannot have access to something, and blockchain can help us do that. So I think we have a more real world problems focus in the whole Latin America, man.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that. And I would love to maybe even dive a little bit deeper in there, and just I would love to get your take on how do you see maybe like the Brazilian builder community comparing and contrasting to maybe their counterparts from some of these other countries in the region. because obviously Brazil has kind of like a unique set of issues that maybe, like Argentina and some of these other countries don't necessarily face, or it's less acute perhaps as far as, some like, inflation and these types of things.
Yes, and that's interesting because like last August I was at ETH Argentina, and it was very interesting to do this comparison between like the Brazilians and the Argentinians because like I know that they like Argentina. It's a big, the crypto in Argentina. It's a big thing. They have like a lot of stuff, a lot of incentives that there, especially after the last presidential change. But in Brazil, we also have like a lot of stuff. We have like the central bank working with developing their own CBDC, developing their own like platform infrastructure platform to other players create dApps in there. So I would say like that the Brazil community is a lot of more interested in learning about crypto right now. We have a lot of folks trying to understand more, and but at the same time in Argentina, I think the people are more interested in the technology. We have to create this shift here in Brazil so that people are not interested in following that influencer that shows one or another token or another meme coin, but also help them understand like how can I fit into this Web3 ecosystem, maybe working with not only like programming, developing things, but with designer things, with marketing things, doing podcasts, doing content, being a product manager, etc. So I will do this comparison. Like people in Argentina are finally trying to like, from my point of view, people in Argentina are a little bit ahead because they already understood that crypto isn't like some financial tool. We can also build our career in this. We can also build like solutions for our problems in this. And people in Brazil, especially because we have a lot of influencers here and we lack a little bit of education, as I said earlier. I think we still need to create this shift with the folks that live here. But we are not like that behind, I would say. I would say that we have a lot of talents here, but like the majority of population, it still needs to like shift, like to change that model, like not to buy the next token, but also to get more involved with blockchain.
Yeah, it's an interesting comparison because you really have like a lot of like Argentina has had a pretty strong ecosystem for several years, even dating back to like, Wences Casares, who is one of the main guys who really first introduced Bitcoin to Silicon Valley back in like 2013, right, with Zappo and whatnot. And there's been this sort of chain of founders or prominent, community members essentially that have arisen out of Argentina. But with Brazil, it's kind of like you can't really name that many, maybe like Alex Van Gisand, but like beyond that, you can't really name that many. And even if you just look at the array of like events and like conferences that happen in Brazil, like kind of what you were talking about earlier, trying to do more events around the country and whatnot. There's Ethereum Rio, which I'm lucky to help be a part of this year. And then there's like Blockchain Rio. There's a few other things, but there's not, for a country of this size, there should be like a lot more, so for 200 million people, like having like 3 events or 4 events or whatever doesn't seem like sufficient. So, I don't know. I mean, from your vantage point, like, why do you think this is? Like, why do you think Brazil feels kind of behind in this? Like, I don't feel like we're like it's behind in terms of people being interested. It's just more of there's just not like the infrastructure for people to like really get involved, I guess, or really like plug into it,
Yeah, I would say like that the Brazilian community are not like involved with itself. Like we have a lot of builders building their own things, like their own projects, building their own infrastructure projects, but they are not well connected with the whole community. And I don't know, like maybe the reason is the lack of these events, like the lack of these reunions of people seeing their faces, because especially when we talk about crypto, the everyone is so cautious with interacting virtually. Like, for example, I don't know if the people that are sending me messages are really people or are someone that trying to scams me. So I think we lack these physical places where people can connect with each other and maybe like talk to each other what they are building. Because as I said earlier, like the first event that I was present as was like ETH Rio 2022, and man, it was so cool to see this reunion of people that are interested in the same thing. It was actually like the thing that made me embark in this whole journey. At the time, I was working at Hashtags with my law background, and after the event, I decided, man, no, I have to like dive deep into this, because this is the future, this is the present. All these people that truly believe in what they are building are like really serious people, not people that are like doing some scammy things, some bad things. So I think like we lack a little bit more of this reunion of people, because we have a lot of talent, we have a lot of amazing folks here, but they are like focused on building their own stuff. Maybe because like we do not have the opportunities and the connections with other folks abroad. So for example, as I said earlier, the majority of content is in English or Spanish. Like Brazilians do not speak English and neither Spanish, like we speak Portuguese. So like a lot like, and I know, man, I know, like we can try to learn things in Spanish, but we're talking about blockchain, we're talking about crypto. It's hard for, as you said, Aaron, like it's hard for us understanding that in English, in Portuguese, in Spanish. Like how can we make someone that doesn't understand other languages like learn first the language, and second like this whole world of crypto? So I think we lack a little bit in these reunions. But as you said, man, like we do not lack of talent, we do not lack of interested people to learn about this. Maybe we lack this reunion of people with like bringing everyone together and saying like we are not competing with each other. We should be on the same place, on the same pace to go further. Because if we help each other, the Brazil can go further, and like we can show to the whole Web3 community that Brazil has all this good talent, all these good people building their own stuff. But like we lack a little bit of these connections with other languages and all this, because like the closest comparison we can do is Portugal, and like Portugal is so far away. Like they have their own reality within Europe and etc. So like it's some folks get to me like, hey, the community, like the Portugal community is growing a lot, it's so cool. I say, yeah, man, like they're growing a lot, but like we're Brazil, man, we are not Portugal. Like we're not the same place, right? So yeah, like that's one of the things that I would say right now, like this lack of reunion of the community.
Yeah, it'd be as an American, I would find it funny if somebody came up to me and was like, "Hey, like the community in England is doing really well." You know, I'd be like, "Well, like
exactly,
that effect doesn't have any impact on me whatsoever."
Yeah.
So, but yeah, but maybe just talk a bit more about kind of your vision for modular crypto and how you see this platform, growing and expanding, and your influence growing and expanding, in sort of an ideal world here. But what is your roadmap here over the next, hopefully continued bull market here?
Yeah. So as I said earlier, we're trying to do a lot of events. Like we already noticed what you said, like that we need more of these events in Brazil. We're trying to do a little bit of that. Like we are doing smaller events right now. We're doing meetups. We are trying to connect with protocols from abroad to like explain to them, hey, we have all this infrastructure here to do an event. Can you help us with this? Can you help us with that? Because like in the end of the day, like doing events are like it isn't cheap. So we are asking them to help us. We are gonna do like a lot of stuff in these events, like talk a lot with a lot of projects, because in the end of the day, like the idea is to help these people that are getting into crypto right now to understand more a blockchain. So we are not going to be talking about meme coins and etc. We're going to be talking about technology and about what's happening in the ecosystem right now. And like at the same time, we are trying a lot, even though like we had some doors closed in the past. We're trying a lot to show like from like the ecosystem that Brazil is a great place to be, and a great place to invest in, and not invest like only financial, but invest their time, invest their focus. We try to talk with a lot of projects to explain a little bit more, to onboard them in the Brazilian ecosystem. And like for the future of modular, man, like we're basically gonna double down in our thesis. We're creating modular research. We want to like create more in-depth content. Like we are not gonna go to this airdrop and meme coin season, influencer season. We are gonna go to, like right the opposite side, double down on the technology part, doing like deep dives in the Ethereum ecosystem, deep dives in the DeFi ecosystem too. And like for like the whole year, we'll be doing events across Brazil. So we already have an event for Salvador, that's in Bahia. We have an event at Brasilia, that's the capital of the country. We have an event at Curitiba. We're gonna have an event at Rio de Janeiro, maybe one in Belo Horizonte, that's where I live, São Paulo. So we're really want to go further in the country, but we are taking one step at a time. And we are also trying to talk with folks from abroad to maybe doing some other stuff next year. We are also developing a platform so that people can learn more about Web3. Most of the time, I think we have a lot of information at Twitter, like Twitter websites with LinkedIn. I don't know where if you search for crypto, but this information keeps on being lost because we don't have anywhere to place it, to save it, and we are developing a platform to help these people get everything together in one single place, with like this modular research, with like our videos, like maybe educating them some more basic stuff for the people that are just joining the ecosystem, and as usual, basically trying to get more people, get more Brazilian speakers, Portuguese speakers, into this ecosystem through a more easy way, because we cannot demand people in Brazil to learn English or Spanish to learn crypto. We need like to guide them into a more easy approach and more like I would say like ERL approach, because like this virtual ecosystem is very good, it's very cool, but the reality of the majority of people that lives in Brazil are not this yet. And if we expect them to come to us, we will never reach mass adoption. So we are coming to them. We are coming to these different places in Brazil to maybe teach them a little bit about blockchain, about crypto, and maybe, as I said earlier, plant the seed so these people someday can do the same things for other folks, and maybe develop their own communities, own local communities, and do their own stuff on blockchain.
Maybe one last question here to kind of tie it all together, but would love to get your thoughts on this, kind of how this whole like modular versus monolithic, I don't know, competition, if you want to call it that, is like playing out. And obviously you're just based on your name, you're sort of biased toward one side, I would assume. But I was talking to Rafael Castaneda, the Costa Crypto channel recently, and he actually kind of laid out the most, probably like, I mean, he's not necessarily like bearish on the modular thesis, but he's got a lot of reservations about it, and in terms of like, look, like the solution to these problems, scalability problems, is not just like adding new blockchains to the stack, right? Like, so he's a little more, I think he's a little more optimistic on things like Solana, things like Radix, things like Near, that are trying to take more of like the monolithic approach and trying to do everything basically without just adding all these new different layers, because then it becomes kind of like this whack-a-mole problem where like, okay, you have you're able to scale, but now you need to get these things to interoperate, right? And then you need all these interoperability layers to get all these things to talk to each other. And it's kind of like this, every kind of problem creates like a new level of problems you have to deal with. And anyway, so I mean, I'm not an expert on any of this stuff, but I'm trying to follow it and just trying to understand it as best as possible. But would love kind of your current thinking on that. I think even this morning we had another like outage on Solana, so it's not the, but anyway, but like would love your kind of your current thinking on this whole I don't want to say competition, but I can't think of a better word right now. But there's like this duality, like these two opposing or competing frameworks here.
Yeah, so like I understand that, like so let's go to the basics. Like I do not think like the future of blockchains are made with monolithic blockchains. As you said, like Solana is it's a cool example of monolithic chain that is working right now, but is working. I would not say that, because exactly like you said, like just yesterday with the wormhole airdrop, Solana surpassed it to some bad times. I don't think the chain went down, but they were not processing transactions. And like the monolithic approach, it's interesting. Like it fits what it proposes, like for the general purpose blockchain, I would say. But when we got like to like specific approach, specific projects, I think the modular thesis is the future. Like there is no way to create, for example, a Solana chain for games, and I would say, and it's interesting because Solana is like sometimes compared to like the blockchain of games, but I do not think like Solana could handle like a mainstream game, because it is not able to handle airdrop claims. So with the modular thesis, we talk about specialization. We talk about adapting a project to what it's best for them. And I really do believe this thesis, because okay, like until now, most of the projects that were being created in a huge block that basically let them like copy and paste some other projects. So for example, you could create a fork of Ethereum, you could create a fork of Optimism, you could create a fork of Solana, etc. But like imagine if I have like a real specific use case, or if I have a real specific project that I want to develop, I cannot do that with a monolithic approach. Like my project is specific, it needs it needs a specific thing. So for example, it needs like lower fees, it needs to develop more complex contracts. So for example, I really like, for example, what Eclipse is building. Like it is using the SVM, but is also using other stuff from the modular thesis to help them bring like the fastest L2 that they could deliver. And we have other projects. So for example, doing other virtual machines. Another thing that's that I'm very interested right now is like alternative virtual machines, because in the end of the day, like the EVM, it's very limited regarding to like the Solidity language complex. The complexity of the Solidity language let us go. So for example, if we need a more complex game running on blockchain, we cannot use Solidity, and we cannot use EVM because it's limited regarding to scalability. We can use, for example, Linux with Cartesi, and we can get more scalability for this game. We can use Solana because it can let us do parallel processing. So I think we will in the end have this whole Lego blocks building with different projects, because we will need like specific approach. Like the general purpose era is already in the past. Like we already have like general purpose winners, I would say. Of course, we have like alt L1. So for example, we have Monad that's being developed right now. We have Say, we have Sui that's trying to bring like parallelization to EVM. But I really do think that in the end, like the modular thesis will be like the winner of the monolithic versus this modular blockchain, because the ecosystem needs specialization. And something that's very interesting about like that is like ever since we got this like whole stacks of other projects. So for example, we have the OP stack, we have Arbitrum Orbit, we have ZK stack. We realized that a lot of innovation is coming to the ecosystem. So right now we have, as I said, like Eclipse, we have like Cartesi with their Linux VM, we have Move with their VM. We have a lot of innovation that can even help Ethereum in the end, because as I said earlier, like the Solidity language and the EVM are very limited to what they can do, and to the complexity of contracts that they can develop. With all these other possibilities, I think we will end up in an ecosystem that's very innovative, like a lot of projects being created every single day to like different approaches. And in the end of the day, like this ecosystem, it is to experiment. And if we don't experiment, we will never know like if this works or if that doesn't work. So I truly believe in this to experimentation. Like that's the resume of everything that they just said. But I do not disagree with Costa. Like the monolithic chain have their own use, but I think the modular end up like being more adaptive to projects.
Yeah, I tend to fall in the same line of thinking, where I think at this phase in the development of this whole Web3 blockchain world, like you really need the platform that is going to be, or you need like the stack that is going to be most conducive to experimentation and customizability, depending on the use case. And maybe at the end of the day, we'll learn that maybe that's not the best way to do it. But at this point, we're still trying to figure out like what are these things like actually good for, right? Like what, like I think so. Trying to take like the trying to fitting the square peg in the round hole perhaps approach of like using a monolithic chain might be, at this stage, it might be a little bit premature to be trying to do that, just depending on what use case you're pursuing. So it does seem to make intuitive sense. But it's definitely interesting to see how these things play out, because like the rivalry is really starting to heat up now, right? I even saw for the Bankless, like April Fools, they always do some big April Fools joke thing.
Yeah,
I think last year their April Fools joke was that they were like they were like breaking up and like dissolving the company or something. And then this year they were like, oh, David Hoffman's joining Solana as like the VP of decentralization or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was like, man, these guys are pretty good. They're definitely, they know how to troll, that's for sure. But it's gonna be fun to see how this rivalry really kind of ramps up throughout the market, and who performs better, right? I think that's going to be the kind of where the rubber meets the road, is like which of these things performs better. Can Solana continue to like just keep pumping out meme coins like crazy, or like, you know, are meme coins going to be as big of a thing if they're all being launched on Base or like some other Ethereum L2? That's a bit. I mean, I think the downside of, you know, using some of these Ethereum L2s right now is that it's just hard for like retail people to like get to these things, right? Whereas Solana, it's basically like using Ethereum a couple of years ago, where you just get a phantom wallet and just there you go. But like with like Base, it's like, well, how the heck am I going to get my coins on the Base and like start trading meme coins? You know, if you're like a retail person, right? So anyway, we'll see how this plays up. I think it's going to be fun to watch. With that, would you love to get any like I don't know, any final thoughts from you? Any like meme coins I should be super excited about, or airdrops I should be farming, or I don't know. Any final thoughts from you, like what you're excited about the next like couple months here?
Yeah, so just to wrap up like this last conversation, like I don't think it's like a whole Ethereum or Solana thing. As I said, like we are all experimenting things, and like most of the times we cannot experiment on Ethereum mainnet itself, and like we are doing this on L2s. I like that very much. Like I think it is the place to experiment. Like that's one of the reasons that we have like more than 30-40 L2s today. I do not think that all of them will survive, but in the end of the day, they are experimenting stuff, and that's very, very helpful to the ecosystem to grow and etc. And yeah, just want to point that. And yeah, let's take. So I do think 2024 will be the year of airdrops, even though I don't like to talk a lot about that, but like I do think, and it's already proven itself to be like we are in April, and we already got a lot of airdrops that came in 2024. But like some other cool stuff, I think the modular thesis we will grow even further. Like this whole alternative virtual machines are growing like really, really fast. I'm impressed. I'm not gonna lie. They're getting their well-deserved spot, and really well-deserved, because the Solidity in EVM have its own limitations that we should be trying with other language and other stuff. And interoperability, as you said, like with modular we have fragmentation. How to solve this with interoperability? So that's the main focus I think the Ethereum ecosystem should be doing right now. It's really hard to have like all your money spread across 30-40 L2s, or at least like 10 L2s, like the biggest ones. And that's not gonna lie, that's not good for the normie users right now. But I really do think that the interoperability will come to impress us in 2024. Like we have chain abstractions, we have account abstractions, and we have a lot of great builders building great projects that are in a very, very interesting place right now. And other stuff that I'm really looking forward to 2024, Base and Coinbase. I think they're doing an amazing job with Base. Like they, I don't know, man. Like Coinbase keeps surprising me, because I didn't imagine that Base would get this much of attraction like in such a short time. But they are trying to integrate like things like from Coinbase to Coinbase wallet through Base, and if they achieve that, they will end up onboarding a lot of the users that they have in the exchange. So I'm excited to see if that's going to be a reality. And also, like I cannot forget about the central bank in Brazil. I'm looking forward to what they are going to deliver in 2024. Like I'm not saying that they are going to do everything right, but as I said earlier, like we are on a experimentational phase, and we have to be very honest about that. We are going to be making mistakes. Like as Solana, as we said about Solana is making mistakes, is trying to adapt, trying to evolve, as other ecosystems are doing the same thing. So why not should we do the same thing with the central bank? Like have a little patience. I do not think that they will deliver the most permissionless, decentralized, Ethereum-aligned product, but they are going to deliver something regarding to blockchain that could help a lot of folks, not only in Brazil but abroad, to at least look at the Brazilian market. So I'm also excited for that, and also for the events. I love events, as I said earlier. 2024 can be a great year for events, and I really love to be present in all of them that I can. That I can, because like it's exhausting to go to these events and to go back home. Like some of them are really far away. So yeah, really looking forward to 2024. I think it will be a great year, especially for Brazil.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited to see what the central bank pulls out as well. I do think I've kind of maintained this thesis that in the same way that a lot of the other countries around the world are looking at PIX and trying to recreate PIX as kind of like the gold standard for, basically like a instantaneous, instant payment system, like as a almost like a public good, right? I think a lot of if the central bank can like get this Drex formula correct, I think it'll become the model that a lot of other banks and countries start looking at. So I think there's a decent amount of pressure on them to get this thing right. but at the same time, yeah, it's not going to be like necessarily the most maybe like permissionless decentralized thing. But I remember about maybe a year ago, there was someone was looking at the code base for it and was all up in arms that there was like a backdoor to it and it's like, what, you really expect like a central bank to just create something that doesn't have a backdoor to it? Like, okay, yeah. I mean, you don't have to like
it's in the name.
it,
it's central bank, like it's centralized bank, right?
Yeah, it's like you don't have to approve of it, but at least understand what you're talking about here. But yeah, so that's gonna be really exciting to watch, and yeah, I'm excited. I think this is gonna be a good year for Brazil, especially like once the regulations come out for VASPs in the second half of the year. I think that's gonna be a big. You're already seeing a lot of exchanges just like really ramping up here, and I think that's going to be a big, a big catalytic moment. So excited to see how that goes. How can folks find you or get in touch with you if they want to learn more?
Yeah, so everyone that wants to talk, to maybe understand more about a little bit more about Modular, you can search us at Modular Crypto on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Telegram, wherever you likes. You can also find me at João Kury at Telegram, and also at Twitter. It's crypto under dot Nita under dot. And yeah, that's it. Like I really love it talking about crypto. Really love it trying to understand more this ecosystem, and I'm always eager to learn. So I'm always eager to understand more. And yeah, like this will be an interesting year, everyone. I really do think that Brazil is a really great place right now. In last year, Chainalysis crypto adoption rank, we were like in like I think 9th, or yeah, I think we were like the place in Latin America with the fastest adoption. And I really do think that this will end up like resembling on the market itself, like with the builders coming from Brazil, with developers, with talents, and with a lot of great projects getting traction they deserve, like for quite a while.
Well, thanks so much, João. Really appreciate your time. It's great having you on the show. And thanks everyone for listening, and we will see you next time.